I think the second thing we look for is that somebody else, not us and not the project, are spending an inordinate amount of money to make that place better. That can be a city like Denver, who, they call it the incredible Denver voter, but Denver's just always doing stuff. Since we've been there, they've built TIA, convention centers 3 times bigger than it was when we started, convention center, hotels, light rail, heavy rail all over the city, football stadiums, basketball stadiums, baseball stadiums. Of course, field is incredibly important in the history of Denver. So that sort of investment in the city is a really big deal. We went to Steamboat because Alterra was spending $250 million to upgrade what was already an amazing mountain.
Okay. Chris Frampton, CEO of East West Partners. Chris, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for hosting. Your company is so iconic in a plethora of ways, but you guys are responsible for some of the greatest resorts and urban developments in the world, but certainly in the States here.
I think that's too much, but sure.
I don't know if that's too much. Projects in Vail, Beaver Creek, Union Station, and then here in Charleston, you've got some great ones too. Would love to hear the family story. Can we start with an overview? You have 3 different companies of East West, and I think we can set the table with that.
Yeah. So we're 3 businesses. Slifer Smith & Frampton is one of those 3 companies. Slifer is a real estate brokerage firm. Depending on the year, might be number 1 in Colorado. They're number 1 in Eagle County, and they're number 1 in Summit County, which is so that's Vail, Beaver Creek, and then over in Summit is Keystone Copper, Breckenridge. And then they're number 3 in Pitkin County, which is Aspen, Snowmass. Amazing firm, originally started by a guy named Rod Slifer, who was, I think this is right, the first ski instructor in Vail.
That's what I heard you say before.
Yeah. And, just awesome group. They're about 500 people, I think, and really awesome company. What's great about them, first of all, is that they're making a market in real estate, but they're an incredible service provider to people buying homes and selling homes. And then for us, selfishly, it keeps us very close to those markets. And a core part of our business is selling condominiums and ski resorts. And so it's just great. They know how to sell them. They know who's buying, great data. How many bedrooms should we build? Where are these buyers coming from? And so they're really awesome. The other company that is really amazing, a place called East West Hospitality, sometimes called East West Resorts. They've had a number of names. For a hot minute, they were called East West Destination Hospitality, and that was too much, so we got rid of that. But run by a woman named Colleen Weiss. She's got an amazing team. They've all been at the company for 20 plus years. Started actually by the partner who opened the Charleston office, a guy named Ross Bowker. And hospitality exists entirely, originally to manage the HOAs of the condominium buildings we built. And, one of the things that's super important to us is that, you buy a condo from us, and at the development side of the business, we're sort of done, right? But you're going to live there. And so your experience as an owner starts at the closing. And we're sort of out of your hair. We finished the punch, furniture it has arrived. And so you're living there. So managing that HOA and managing the experience of that ownership is super important to the experience. And so it helps us immensely because those people and or their friends are buyers for the next project, and that kind of reputational stuff is obviously a huge deal. So East West Hospitality, a huge part of what we do. They also manage hotels. They manage 2 of the best resort hotels in America, in the West in Beaver Creek and the Viceroy in Snowmass. They manage, I think, 17 hotels. I always think it's fun to describe a hotel in the mountains. So there's a place called Solaris. We didn't develop it in Vail. I'm making this up, but I'm close to right. It's 60 homes, and 40 of them are on the vacation rental program. And those are nightly rentals. People check in. They have room service. They get new towels. Somebody's got to put in shampoo. Right. When they arrive, they get their groceries delivered, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a hotel, but it sure looks like a hotel.
It functions like one.
If you're a guest, it's a hotel. Really awesome company. They are very proud, as they should be. They were named the number 1 villa rental company in the world by Condé Nast last year. I think it was Condé Nast, I'm pretty sure. And what's neat about those, they're kind of funny. Those rankings, nobody really understands them. They change all the time. amazingly, the year before they were named number 2. So there's something to the consistency there. The other company that they compete with is some villa rental company in Italy. So
wow,
feels like hot cotton,
of course.
But awesome company. And then the third company is the development company, which I'm a part of and have been for 20 some odd years. I started in 2002 with East West. So awesome company. We're Utah, Colorado, and South Carolina today. We have done a ton of work in California and Hawaii as well. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I've listened to, I think Harry just did an interview that went out a couple days ago, which was very good.
Yeah, it's really good.
The family, or the East West put it out,
East
right?
West Hospitality put it out.
It was great. Yeah. So one of the keynotes that when you listen to anything or read anything is live where you work is a very common sentiment of your family and the company too. So using that, so Harry starts the company East West when he leaves Vail.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's do it. It's just easy to do this history, the cocktail party version. So my dad grew up in Hartsville, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. His dad was an entrepreneur, owned an ice cream shop, owned a men's clothing store, et cetera. My mom is from Beaufort, South Carolina. She is so Southern that she actually dated Pat Conroy in high school. So you just kind of can't get any more Southern than that. And they met, actually, I think this is right. My mom was working for my grandfather. She went to Coker College, which is in Hartsville. And so she was working for my grandfather at the ice cream shop. And so my dad met her there. They got married. My dad was finishing at Clemson. And, some point in the near future after finishing school, my dad needs a job. And he somehow ends up with a job at Sea Pines working for the sales team. And, Sea Pines is this incredible phenomenon. It's actually one of our goals at East West that we be a kind of Sea Pines.
Right.
So, people who worked at Sea Pines, Jim Chafin Light, mm-hmm. Who built Snowmass and Spring Island down here, amazing company. Ron Twilliger, Trammell Crow Residential, Joe O'Connor from the O'Connor Funds, Terry Golden, who created Host Marriott, the Paired Shared REIT, building Marriotts. Just an incredible history of people who worked there, and there are many more. Charles, who ran that company, was very famous for being the first big real estate developer to hire MBAs. He was like on the cover of Newsweek, which there's nothing akin to being on the cover of Newsweek now, but whatever the cover, the cover of Newsweek, and it's like being the halftime show. So, amazing company. So Harry was there. They got promoted through the ranks. We moved to Charlotte. I was born in Charlotte, and he ran a place called River Hills, mm-hmm. which is is it Lake Wiley, which is the southern nuclear power lake in Charlotte, and then moved up to Richmond to develop a place called Brander Mill. And Brander Mill is a master plan community, selling to home builders, kind of classic sort of deal. My dad probably tells a story in his podcast. It doesn't make any sense to me. And he explains it in a way that he thinks it makes sense, but it makes no sense that the Bass family hires him to come run Vail Associates. Skiing at the time was very much a real estate business. So,
in what way?
You built the ski resort to sell the real estate. Yeah. And, today it's very different. I mean, there's some shift in the industry where real estate's more important, but fundamentally it became an operating business.
100%.
Particularly, Rob Katz's leadership at Vail, and now Altera's leadership, Jared Smith there. So so anyway, he gets hired and goes there and amazing experience. I was 10. So, pretty little, but my dad did some pretty cool things. They put in the first quad chair in North America, the Vistabon. Had a lid that came down and protected you against the weather, and it was cool. They were doing Beaver Creek and so forth. They sold the company to a guy named George Gillette, a very successful sale, and so my parents had to figure out what to do, and that's where we got the first rule of East West. So I was enrolled, I believe. Get this wire out. I was enrolled at Pace Academy in Atlanta because he was going to move. I don't know what the job was, but we were moving to Atlanta. I don't know if they closed. They were under a contract on a house in Denver, in Greenwood Village or Cherry Hills or something. But he and my mom and dad were like, we don't want to leave Vail. We love it here. And so decided to stay in Vail, needed to do something. Richard Rainwater, who had run the Bass family, agreed to back them, and they started a townhome project called The Meadows in Beaver Creek. Big part of our history, really kind of interesting. It was at the time Mike Shannon of KSL was the president of Vail, and East West and Vail struck a deal that had us pay a percentage of land price at closing in order to help with IRRs and investments. And we would buy land from Vail and build it, and probably built about half of Beaver Creek that way. The other half was others. But it was it really started a long relationship. We're still great partners with KSL today.
So how did that work? How did that swap at the beginning
it was pretty simple. Yeah. They would have a parcel. The master plan had been created before my dad arrived, but he certainly was familiar with it. My dad was not the only founder of East West. There was a guy named Mark Smith and a woman named Chris Wright that were there as well. And so they would buy they would say, hey, it's time to develop a parcel. We want hotbeds. So in the ski industry, it's all about hotbeds. Yeah. And there's real truth to that. Like you need places, people to stay.
Of course.
And, you have drive-to markets, you know, people from Denver or Park City, or if you're, in the Northeast from New York or Boston. But really the business is about half fly-in traffic. So you need places for people to stay. So it was all about building that real estate and getting those hotbeds. And so Vail would sell a parcel of land to East West, and we would pay them a percentage of the sales price at closing.
Oh, wow.
And that was that percentage started low, and as everybody was successful, it got higher, but it was a great relationship. It made deals possible for East West to do, and it got them the beds they wanted. I mean, one of the more interesting ones was my dad built the Hyatt, which I think at the time was a Hyatt Regency. Today it's a Park Hyatt. He and Mark and Ross, I think, really ran that project. Vail actually paid until it was a stabilized asset.
Whoa.
To offset losses in those first years, because they knew it was going to lose money. And everybody knew it was going to lose money because Beaver Creek wasn't a thing yet.
Of course.
So, you got to get there. Great, but great for Beaver Creek. Beaver Creek is an amazing place today. Really beautiful. Very different kind of ski resort because it's a resort instead of a town that had a ski mountain next to it. So, it's built from scratch, but it's awesome. Started that relationship. So that kind of got East West Partners going. The first project, I think, out of Beaver Creek was Denver. Mark moved to Denver to take over and start doing that. A place called Riverfront Park, 1999 or so. They had done a few deals elsewhere, but that was the first big one. And Riverfront's where I started. I moved there in 2002. But it was interesting because what the guys realized was that the ski resort business is actually very similar to the urban development business. Things that are similar, easements all over the place. Yeah. Right. Vertical mixed use. Yeah. Which is, it's funny to think about now, but that was unusual, right? In the 90s. And, it was retail here, homes here. Right. So that urban development was a really natural fit for us. In fact, the early days presentations of Riverfront Park was resort living in a city. I think that's evolved, but unbelievable place, Riverfront. And so, since then, it's been a very natural evolution of that skill set of placemaking to, be able to do that in other ski markets, but also in urban markets like Charleston. So.
For the urban markets, you were saying it's similar to the resort development because the city's the amenity that you're selling effectively. I thought that was neat. What were the initial, for your father, what do you think were the initial critical deals that went really well or really catalyst for growth? Like what was, hey, we made maybe a big fee on this project, or what was pivotal?
Well, you go listen to him tell the best story is this. So I can't remember when it was. It was around the SNL crisis. And they were in deep dog doo-doo. And there was the folks from American Express decided to build a corporate retreat for their executives in Beaver Creek.
Wow.
And the project kept getting more and more expensive. And they had a percentage fee deal. It was just a pure fee development. And so the best thing was that deal. And it really kept them in business. It paid salaries and nobody had to go get a new job.
Wow.
My dad and Mark, really both of them extremely entrepreneurial. Mark Smith, who is an amazing guy and was really my mentor. Mark is very famous because as far as I know, he's the only person to ever lie about his age to get a real estate license.
Yeah, it's so funny.
You hear about people lying about their age to, join the military or something like that. Mark lied. He was 17. He said he was 18 so he could get his real estate license in Florida.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I think that's a deal. I mean, look, real estate development, any developer knows this. It is always a long bet on the economy. And the capital sources have many places that they can invest. And so there are dry times and there are bad times of overbuilding and over leverage. So it is an up and down business for sure. I mean, I think what East West has done a great job of over the years is finding places people want to be, capital and land partners that are patient and know that markets change, and try the hardest that we can to manage through all that. And it doesn't always work out.
Of course. 2008
was bad for everybody. And for us, we had a couple of really big hiccups there. Hiccups is such a funny word. I mean, it was bad. And, we had signs, we had hats made that said 2012. And that was basically right. 2012, it came back. So anyway, I would say the American Express deal is a huge deal. Going to Denver was big. Coming here to Charleston was big. We're now comfortable working around the country, but those were big deals. And I'm sure if you ask Harry and Mark, they've got plenty of other versions.
Yeah. What was the importance of having the brokerage part to the business early on? Like, did that generate just consistent cash flow for them, and then they made fee revenue, and then money on sales?
Ultimately, it's been a great business financially, unbelievable business financially for sure, both for the owners of the brokerage and also for the individual brokers themselves. I would say the importance of it was selling new homes. So, selling new homes is different from brokering real estate. And so a broker, very important role in our world of making a market. But selling is different. And I think the best example I can give is someone who's selling has this many cars on the lot.
Yep.
And this is the lot. And if you go to the lot next door, that doesn't do any good for my client.
Yeah.
And a broker is making a market. And so they're helping match a seller and a buyer together, and they're working for the transaction. They are both incredibly deep skills. They are licensed to the same, so I think it sometimes confuses people. And there are people who can do both, of course. It's a big world. But selling is very distinctly different from brokering. And so I think really the main thing was finding a group of brokers, because they're all brokers, who could really represent and sell new homes in Beaver Creek. And I think that's why Mark started Slifer Smith in Frampton. Now, they always viewed the brokerage side of the business as the real long-term opportunity, and so ultimately they partnered with Rodney Slifer, and so created Slifer Smith in Frampton. He had Slifer Real Estate before that, and I think Harry and Mark called theirs East West or something.
Yeah. Interesting. So in leading up to evolving through the company here, do you want to give an overview of your career, maybe from Trammell to East West, just as a little bit of background?
I mean, look, I thought I was going to be a newspaper reporter. Worked on the Davidson College where I went, very formative thing in my life, and had an amazing opportunity through a family friend to work at the Wall Street Journal for a summer. It was awesome. I flew on Air Force One.
Wow.
I reported Don't Ask, Don't Tell and NAFTA. I mean, it was really cool.
Wow.
It was great. And it was the end of the summer, and there were some of the guys had gotten their internships after college, and they tended to stay longer. And a guy got a new job, and everybody was super happy for him because evidently it was the best starting reporter job you could ever get at the Des Moines Register. I was sort of like, wait a minute, maybe this isn't what I want to do. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I mentioned Ron Twilliger before, and I am very. It is not lost on me that I started on third base, but Ron was nice enough to help me get a job in Charlotte with Trammell Crow Residential, and
very cool.
Worked there for a year and a half. I had a girlfriend in college named Yvette. She's now my wife. We have 3 kids together. She got into NYU Film School, so I wanted to follow her to New York.
Wow.
Got very lucky that Merrill Lynch was looking for somebody and needed somebody to start 2 days later. And I was like, I can start 2 days later. So I went to Merrill Lynch. Really kind of amazing to me. I was not a good investment banker. I didn't really understand the math until after I left investment banking, but awesome job. I made decks and I made Excel spreadsheets,
right.
10 hours a day. My first night, I spent the night, I got a shoe thrown at me. Still friends with that guy. So, great experience. I was at Merrill for about 2.5 years. Went to grad school at Columbia, snuck in the back door at Columbia. I'm very proud of this. The real estate development program was in its second year.
Wow.
And there were 32 students. There were 32 applicants. So today to go to the real estate development program at Columbia is really hard, but I snuck in the back door there. I actually was planning to go to development, but Yvette was staying in New York. She wasn't done with NYU. And so I went to work at a small boutique real estate banking firm. And as soon as Yvette agreed to marry me, I made her move to Austin, Texas. Went to work for a group called IMI, selling real estate. So a whole new ball game. And I was in Austin for about 1.5 years, and then moved to Denver in 2002. I started in Denver as the head of sales and marketing there, and then was given the chance to run the Denver market, which I did through our Union Station project. I did not really lead the Union Station project. I never want to take credit for that, but I did do the real estate around it. And then Craig Ferraro, who had been our CEO for a while, had decided to retire, and they asked me to become CEO.
Wow.
Yeah. So about, I think 7 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. What is the beginning of finding these type of projects? So largely you guys have developed condominiums and built this for sale project, or product.
Look, Beaver Creek was a mixed use deal from the get-go. So yes, there were a lot of condos and the revenue was upstairs, but there was retail on the first floors and clubs.
Interesting.
And hotels. And so it was mixed use right from the get-go. It didn't have office, but
got it.
And it didn't have multifamily for rent, but it was hospitality for sale and retail right from the start, and public spaces, very importantly. So I think those 4 components of mixed use were in the company blood from the get-go. And remember, Harry grew up at Sea Pines. And so Sea Pines was, an incredible mixed use project, right? Harbor Town is big mixed use
100%,
thing, so all modeled after Portofino, Italy. So, it was, I think that mixed use was in our blood from the get-go. And so we're very comfortable in each of the asset classes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to forget his name, but there's this famous developer. He's very famous. Retail guy. Baltimore. It'll come to me. Anyway, he wrote a thing in 1976 that the future of real estate is being a generalist, that having that ability to understand all the different kind of products was a big deal. That actually hasn't proven to be true, but there is a place in the real estate world for the generalist. So we're comfortable doing multifamily. We're comfortable doing meaning multifamily for rent. We're comfortable doing for sale. Right. We're comfortable building hotels. We're comfortable building retail. We're comfortable building office buildings. We've actually got a really deep and neat experience set in office. It doesn't tend to be the thing we're famous for, but,
of course.
And look, we're not related. We're not Vornado.
Yeah.
We're not Jamestown, but we have built about 1 million square feet of office space too. So, that we're comfortable with all those things. The math is fundamentally the same. I think so that being able to do all of that makes us a natural fit.
Sure. When
the project calls for big mixed use.
So how do the projects find you? I mean, they're all such rich projects in the sense that the for sale component, kind of where I was going with that. It's like a lot of people may view for sale or condo development as a more volatile, obviously, deliverable, which it is. How do you guys, what is the beginning stage of finding here's an area and then this is what we want to do? Because it seems like all the assets are complicated and there's a sales component to it. What is the initial thought process?
I can't announce it yet, but we're about to do a new deal with a new capital partner, and we're very close, today.
Right.
And we agreed to all the terms, and the CEO of that company said to me, "Okay, can we do something now that doesn't require us to cure cancer?" And I've been thinking about that a lot.
That's right.
Honestly, it's a good comment. We should do more of that. Look, how do we find deals? I'd say,
and how do you decide what you want to deliver there is really the question.
Well, okay. So let me do the first question I thought you were asking. Look, we find deals most of the time. We have off book. We have never successfully, literally in our 40 years, we've never successfully bought something that was being represented by a broker. So the deals that we are attracted to and that are attracted to us are usually some sort of long-term land partner. That might be a public entity. So Union Station is an example of that in Denver, where Dr. Cog and Regional Transportation, meaning the Denver Regional Council of Governments and the RTD, which is the Regional Transportation District in Denver, and the city of Denver went looking for somebody. So we entered that process and got through it. So we bought land from them over the course of 7 years, and it was a takedown schedule, et cetera. At Daniel Island, the Brumley family who own Daniel Island were looking for a long-term partner to work through the last of their amazing holdings and their amazing community. And so we've been doing that with them. So I mentioned what we do at Beaver Creek. That was a partnership with Vail, then Associates, now Resorts. In Steamboat, it's with Alterra, the owner of Steamboat, Icon Pass. So the deals tend to be some sort of long-term partnership with the land. So that'd be number one. I think number two, what do we look for? I mentioned that, my parents moving, not leaving Vail. So our first thing is there's a senior partner who wants to move to a market and make it their home. A good example of that is Ryan Stone, who runs our Steamboat. Ryan was with us in Denver, and Ryan and his wife, Susie, just really, really wanted to move to Steamboat, and Steamboat's great. So that was cool. I think the second thing we look for is that somebody else, not us and not the project, are spending an inordinate amount of money to make that place better. That can be a city like Denver, who, they call it the incredible Denver voter, but Denver's just always doing stuff. Since we've been there, they've built DIA, convention centers 3 times bigger than it was when we started, convention center hotels, light rail, heavy rail all over the city, football stadiums, basketball stadiums, baseball stadiums. Of course, feels incredibly important in the history of Denver. So that sort of investment in the city is a really big deal. We went to Steamboat because Alterra was spending $250 million to upgrade what was already an amazing mountain. So that kind of commitment to growth. Charleston is an incredible high growth city. And so that commitment to growth is very important, and the investment in making that place better is very important. So that would be second. After that, we just want to go somewhere cool. We're really into Tampa. I like Tampa. We have this thing, it says East West Partners, and then, like the jewelry store, it tells you, where they are. You just want to make sure it fits. Of course. When we started on a project, I don't think we are particularly distinct in this, but, we might be distinct in one way. We talked about Slifer Smith and Frampton. We are very much, how are we going to lease this office building? What is the rental experience going to be for this tenant as a retailer, or for this tenant as someone who lives in our apartments? What is it going to be like if you buy here? And so we really do start with that sale in mind. We're very much a sales-focused company, and I think that's a big part of what we do. After that, it's what everybody else does. We hire Robert Charles Lesser. They do a market study. We talk to our equity partners that we think might be interested in a deal like that, make sure it matches their mandate and that it's truly fundable. Sometimes we fall in love with something. We are in love with a site that we've been partnered with the landowner for 5 years or so in Zion to build an experience-based hotel that I think would be absolutely amazing. But it turns out no institutional capital guys raised a fund to do that. So it's been a little tricky. We're going to figure that damn hotel out. Matava Zion is going to be amazing. But, it's very important that it be investable. That's an incredibly important part of it. Wow. Those are the things. When we get started on a deal, we have a mantra at East West Partners. It is very organizing for us, and that is create terrific places. Anybody who comes to work here comes here for that. Create, because we are going to start from scratch. We are I want to say this, we have to be a little bit careful because the places we go are already great. Of course. And so there's nothing more obnoxious than someone coming in and saying, I'm a placemaker and I'm going to make your place amazing. Yeah. But we are a developer from the start. Place is a big deal. I was an English major. And it seems like a weird thing to say, but the search for place is just this very distinctly American experience. Whether I'm going to the West or New York City or New Jersey or Miami or whatever, we're always really looking for that place that we belong. And so place has more meaning than just the physical spot. Sure. The Apple Maps or Google Maps or whatever location. It's really, what does that place feel like? And then terrific is a word that has meaning to us. It is definitely a nod to my dad. When you've done well, he sends you an email that says terrific. For some reason, he's never once spelled terrific correctly. So
very funny.
But yeah, create terrific places. That is very much our mantra and our focus. And so we want to do that. And we've been pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
The priority on development over acquisition and maybe redevelopment. So we have 71 Wentworth, which is a repositioning, and we can chat about that.
It's not even a repositioning. It had been vacant for 30 years, maybe longer. Yeah. 71 Wentworth is a little project on King Street. Very much a passion project. End up working. So Miller Harper, who now works for Ben Navarro and is doing the Union Pier project here in Charleston. Miller was running our office for us. Amazing guy. He and I had coffee this morning. And, Miller and I would walk down King Street, and little building on King Street's not within our purview. We don't really know how to do it.
Sure.
We don't really know how to raise the capital. And there's a lot of people who are very talented at that kind of project. But Miller would just point at it and say, "Man, we got to do that deal one day." And
it was just vacant at the time, just nothing. So there was retail.
The first floor retail had been condominiumized, and there were people, there were tenants that were in there, and then upstairs had been, oh gosh, what do you call them? I hate that I'm forgetting this. I might ask you to delete it or just make fun of me in the course of the conversation. Oh gosh, the Masons, the Freemasons.
That's right, Freemasons. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And so they had 2 stores, a big theater, but it had all been stripped down just to empty wood, and then it was this brick space with these amazing windows. And so figuring out how to unlock that project was a huge deal. And Kevin, though, had taken a look at it, and the problem was at 71 Wentworth, the first floor had been condominiumized, and there was retailers there who had very long-term leases, very valuable retail space. I mean, it's an awesome place, King and Wentworth, and it's where all the fancy ones are, Vineyard Vines and Madewell, and some really
nice
good
stores
leases,
in there,
and really good credit. And so there were retail tenants in it, and so upstairs you could not densify the space because you couldn't build underneath modern code a second stair that came down because it would have to take away retail space on the first floor, owned by a separate condominium. There was a parking challenge too, that it didn't have parking. The city of Charleston, though, has a good program for that with historic buildings. So Kevin had figured out a really cool way to run stairs backwards in 2 separate corridors that were fireproof from each other, and an outside balcony that was part of the fire escape. And so that solution unlocked the project. So what was essentially a 2-story space with big heights became a 4-story space. And so we were able to build essentially townhomes inside of the project, 2-story units on the second and third floor, and then third and fourth floor. So they kind of Tetris together. It's really funky, beautiful spaces. I mentioned the wood framing had been sort of left abandoned there. Yeah, we saved all that wood, and it became part of the paneling in the spaces. Courtney Bishop came in to do the interiors, and really amazing project. We also, great long-term relationship, struck a deal with Inspirato Resort.
I saw that,
which is now owned by Exclusive Resorts, but Inspirato and Exclusive, same founder, Denver-based. And so they were excited about short-term rentals. And
so they have a long-term lease from you or something?
Look, people buy the unit.
Okay.
And then you essentially hire Inspirato to rent it for you. Inspirato has a club that people can join, and then they get access to homes. And so that helped us sell about half of them. But it was great. And people who live there are super happy. The place is beautiful.
Do you have another deal with Inspirato right now too? I was trying to find.
We don't.
Okay.
We did a deal with Inspirato in Snowmass. That's come doing. Inspirato doesn't really exist anymore. So Inspirato got bought by Exclusive Resorts. Brent Handler and a few other guys had started Exclusive Resorts with Steve Case, the founder of Netscape. That went well for a while, and then Brent, super entrepreneurial, he went off and started Inspirato. The difference between them is boring. At Exclusive, they own the homes. At Inspirato, they rent the homes.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah.
To change gears a little bit, why do you what was the transition to the Charleston market in the first place? And then what do you like so much about this market? I mean, if you look at like you were talking about the jewelry store, if you look at the map where you guys are, they all make sense. Yeah. But why do you think they make sense?
Yeah, I mean, look, we came to Charleston because Ross Bowker and his wife decided they needed to leave Colorado. I think there were some health issues, and they needed to get away from the altitude. So Ross moved to Charleston. His first project here was One Vindu. Built the pineapple fountain in the park, and just an incredible success story. And so that got us started in Charleston. Matt Sloan and Craig Ferraro were friends, and that got us out to Waterfront. The South Street guys had bought Kiowa. That got us out to Kiowa. Yeah. I mean, I think what we like about Charleston is really easy. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's
and
not
people
hard.
Want to be here.
And people want to be here. But let's go writ large. I actually think there's some argument that Charleston will be the Phoenix of the East. And what I mean by that is today they're just shy of 1 million people. They're basically doubling in size every 20 years. And so, will that continue? Maybe. I mean, you look at what they've got as an anchor. And it's even better than Phoenix because they have resort. Mm-hmm. You've got the Citadel and College of Charleston downtown, plus now Clemson and South Carolina are here. If you live in this region, Charleston is where you come to see your lawyer and your doctor and all that kind of stuff. Don't dismiss that. And then when they signed Boeing, it's just the most amazing accomplishment of all time. And so now they have the thing that the entire government is aligned to provide, which is high-tech manufacturing. Mm. And they're a perfect home for that. Making 787s has also allowed them to make Volvos and batteries and so forth. So you put all of those things together, it's a really compelling story and place people want to be. And then, not for nothing that, the person from New York, and it's a lot of New Yorkers, can move down here and commute back and forth. And so that's really good. And, oh, by the way, the beaches are pretty nice. So you got Kiowa and Isle of Palms and Sully's and, so it's
crazy.
It's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So I think you put all that together, it's pretty great. Nice airport, growing and expanding that airport right now. So yeah, Charleston's pretty cool. And there's just a good vibe here. It's creative.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's thoughtful. It's fun. I don't really say New South anymore, but it's kind of New South. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
Transitioning a little bit to investment philosophy, I want to talk about risk a little bit. Sure. And deal structure, if you can, however much you want to. So what is kind of the guide on, okay, so we have a project like Wentworth, and then you have like a Snowmass Base Village. I mean, these are two completely different projects. Does the team have strict IRR or return on cost criteria? Like, what is your investment criteria?
Yep.
Starting there, and then we can get into how those decisions are made for these other markets too. But what is the criteria, or what do you guys look for?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're looking for a good supply story and a good demand story and a constrained supply story. I mean, I think there are amazing developers who in some ways are in the business of manufacturing yield. It doesn't say create terrific yield, although we don't mind, but it says create terrific
places.
So, we're first and foremost mission driven in that way. Making money is great because it allows us to do it again. And also, who doesn't like to make money? So, look, our deals are really not that distinctly different from anybody else's. If we're building a multifamily deal in 2026, we need a 6.5%, 7% yield. And we're looking at 150 basis points of compression on the exit and the reversion and all the jargon jujitsu that you want to do. Our stuff looks exactly the same. Right. Condos have a higher yield requirement because you get one time to hit and make it. And so there's no leaning on cash flow or whatever, keeping above your debt service coverage ratio like you might do in multifamily or office. But so that's number one. The people who invest with us are looking to put out money, of course. They on some level have a thesis that a market is great. So it tends to be market by market. Mm. So we're very fortunate to have an incredible partner called Accentress in Denver. Accentress is a relatively small real estate private equity firm, but they have a very much thesis aligned with ours in that they're mixed use focused. So they're partners with folks in Chicago, people in Raleigh, Atlanta, really great roster of folks. I love going to their annual meeting because it's all these other really cool developers. So that they're a great partner for us. Their returns are not different than other people's. Who are they advising for? What institution, and what does that institution need? And then they're trying to match that. So, what we try to do, which is really important, it's a big part of the land partner business, is we know that institutional capital is going to be IRR motivated. And so we work on our deals in order to optimize for IRR. So we'll take down land later. Maybe the land comes in as an LP, those kinds of things. And that will help us to, maximize that IRR for our institutional investors. We, of course, truly, of course, we are not IRR motivated other than that it creates a multiple.
Right.
But we're pretty typical. We're investing 5 to 10% as GP capital.
Sure.
We raise an LP and we get a loan. Very, very, very occasionally there might be a mezz slug in the middle of that stack, but not too often. Usually if there's a mezz piece, it comes with some sort of repayment guarantee or completion guarantee in the deal, and that's how it slides in. We're very lucky to be partners with Batson Cook Development Company out of Atlanta. They play that role for us a lot. So, there you go.
How do you think deal structure has evolved over time from maybe?
Well, I think it's evolved a lot. I don't quite know because again, I was 10, but maybe by then, whenever the savings and loans crisis was
90s, right?
Yeah, there was deals were cross collateralized, debt went in before equity. I mean, everything, everything was upside down. In my time, I really thought that we would see higher loan to cost ratios with private debt. And that, we would go to more of a private debt structure, a more fixed rate thing. Although it looks like that was probably more an opportunistic play by that private money, and their money looks more like bank money today.
Yeah.
So, look, what people are interested in changes. The multi guys haven't gotten their money back, so they're not putting their money back out.
Of course.
But, we're still a small slug of institutional capital. We're part of the alternatives. We live with Bitcoin and oil and gas, right?
It's true.
Most people are buying stocks and bonds and so, very, maybe, it's us, private equity, Bitcoin and oil and gas. So, we're still very much an alternative.
What,
I will say, there has clearly been a rise in the number of small investors through syndicates and the marketing to those people, those kinds of investors. I think that has worked really well in some circumstances and not worked well in others. I don't think there's anything to be read into it that if you see a deal that has a bunch of individual investors, it's a bad deal. I don't think it works like that. But that is definitely out there. And, the rise of the family office as well. Direct investing is
100%.
definitely happening. But I say all of that. And if you were building a strip center in 1968 in Myrtle Beach, I'm pretty sure you just raised it from individuals. So
100%.
I don't think it's really changing that much.
Yeah. Okay. Along that same thread, your view on risk in one of I think I listened to an interview you did, or maybe it was an article, but you said one thing we've done well is we just haven't taken on that much risk or outsized risk. And I found that interesting as a condo developer. Maybe people would not perceive that to be true. So what is your view on risk and what did you mean by kept us, we don't invest in anything that's going to take us down, I think your statement
at East
was.
West, my first job is not to go out of business.
Yeah.
So we don't do anything that will cause us to go out of business.
Sure.
That includes completion guarantees. We do not provide them. A lot of our projects are so big, our balance sheet wouldn't be worth it anyway. It doesn't matter. But it's we don't provide completion guarantees. We minimize and box in the bad boy carve outs and environmental carve outs. And we don't do one-off big, huge projects that can kill us. Instead, we say we're going to take this at the pace of reasonable absorption in this market, and we're going to march along. Some markets, at times, in Denver, we did 2 huge condo deals. One was 389 units, and the other was 334. But we've done that twice. Every other time, it's 40 units at a time. So 40 homes, 40 people. Yep. Steamboat is 40. Aspen, we have one project that's 70 units. Before that, everything was sort of 35.
Oh, interesting.
So it's just keep it so that if you get hit, it's not too bad of a hit. And then, by the way, it allows us to just kind of keep pacing along. And when you add it all up, it ends up being a pretty decent amount of stuff. So I think that's really the focus. It's really just don't make too big of a bet, I think is really the key. And we've managed to do that. We've had some bad hits, for sure. But it's, just don't take too big of a financial risk.
Well, I want to get to projects in detail. We can chat about a couple or maybe some of your favorites. But the one thing I found...
I like them all the same.
Okay. One thing I found crazy, which it seemed like an undertone in his statement by your dad, but he's like, yeah, when I was at Vail, a 30-year-old Mark Rowan pitched me this idea. I'm like, well, that's insane, like to think about, like especially how big Apollo is now. But it seemed like they had a pretty close working relationship them at the time, or they were
I think
part of a deal. It's really unique.
I think one of the skills of our company that I cannot quite explain to you is that we do have a sort of outsized mind share amongst private equity guys and institutional capital. Part of that might be that we were in Beaver Creek. Who doesn't like Beaver Creek? Right. I think that's a component. We are relatively sophisticated. That sounds sort of weird, but we're good at the math, and our spreadsheets are good, our decks are good. We understand what they're going through. I think we're excited by the business and enjoy it and love to talk about it, and we like to do the transaction stuff. I already made the jargon jiu-jitsu joke, but of course, we have a black belt. Turns out there's levels of black belts.
100%.
So we're just the first level of black belt. But, we don't say compressing yields ever. So I think but we're good at that stuff. And look, real estate, I only know real estate. Mm-hmm. I'm lucky enough to be in YPO, so I get to see other people who are in other businesses. There's no such thing as a world that you live in where relationships aren't important. It doesn't matter what you do. And when you are lucky enough to run a business, be a member of the executive team of a business, those relationships are as important as ever. I've been going to ULI since I was like 23.
Wow.
So, the friendships that I have from that twice a year experience for, what is that now? 33 years, 31 years. That I missed once. I missed San Francisco. That is an awesome group of people, and so as a result of that, I'm friends with all the other people, men and women who are my age, who have grown up in the business together too.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good, and super helpful. Relationships are a huge deal.
How is your role? What are your priorities now as CEO? And then I forgot one investment question too, but your role now as CEO, what are the priorities? And then how does that fit into, you're a big fan of live where you work. So you have people here that are managing partner and making decisions. How are you able to evaluate these developments or to be projects from your office in Denver? And then also kind of what are your main priorities now?
On the investment side, picking a deal, the local teams are really the ones leading that process. And myself, Jay Lambiat, our CFO, Jackie Coyle, who runs our acquisitions, such as it is, the three of us will come and we'll help and we'll dig in. But it's really Andy Gunyon saying, hey, this new thing out by the Snowmass Mall is really awesome. Let's try to get it. And so that's generally where deals come from. Mm-hmm. Look, sometimes somebody calls me that I know and they've got an interesting piece of land or whatever, but local teams really lead deals, lead underwriting. We're working on a new hotel at Daniel Island, and Harriet Calder, who runs Daniel Island, and her team have done an amazing job of putting together that program. And actually this afternoon, I'll go hear it, and our investor group will hear it, and we'll make a decision. And is that loud?
That's okay.
On the wood. We're gonna do that deal. So, I think that's the answer on how we pursue. As far as my priorities, it is definitely a different role being CEO. That what I learned. I'm great friends with Stephen Shores, who owns Rangewater. He's one of my best friends. And Stephen's built an amazing company at Rangewater. And Stephen does talk about this, they got the big 75,000 unit management company, et cetera, et cetera. And when you become CEO, it's really awesome. It's really fascinating. But I don't interact with cities anymore. Not really. I don't work on schedules anymore. I don't build spreadsheets anymore. So I miss that from time to time. I love getting in the dirt and deciding where flowers are going to go. Yeah. I love, it's such a weird word. I love product. But, I love design. I love thinking about resident mix and who's going to buy, who our homeowners can be, our office tenants. Look, during COVID, I read Jim Collins' Beyond Entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. He rewrote it as 2.0. I read that. And from that, we decided to focus on creating a big, hairy, audacious goal. And we did. We interviewed and surveyed the entire company. There's about 80 people that were working alongside the development as part of the development of the process. And so we created the goal to be the most admired development company in America. Wow. In Beyond Entrepreneurship, there's this idea of a relationship. You can set a goal, a mission. It's a nice way he thinks about things, but the mission is to take the hill. Oftentimes when you hear mission driven, it's this bigger, maybe softer thing. That's the vision under the Collins framework, but the mission is to take the hill. So our mission is to be the most admired development company. Obviously, there's no way to know if we've achieved that. So when you do one that is relationship like that under his thing, you then have to set certain targets that you will actually achieve, things that you can actually do. So we set 5 of those. Our first was that every year in our engagement survey with our folks in our company, we would do better year by year. So we've done that. We're year 3 and we've done better each year. It's a bit of a bummer because Outside Magazine stopped doing this. Our thing was to do that survey. The way it works, these companies make these surveys and you hire them and you can win these awards. We wanted to win the Outside Magazine one because how cool. And so of course, 2 years in a row, we were in the top 50 best places to work in America, according to Outside Magazine. But then Outside Magazine kind of went bankrupt, got bought, sold, somebody else took it over and they stopped doing that. So we're now a best places to work certified, which is great. But the survey results are really what matters. And we've learned a lot. And we've improved a lot of things. We went to unlimited time off. We introduced a wellness stipend that our team really loves. And those are the things that are important in sort of compensation way. But really much more importantly, people feel engaged. They feel that their teammates listen to them, that they're doing important work. And so those things were a big deal to us, a big deal to me personally, but also just a big deal to us as a company. So we achieved that one. Second one was to build every building net zero operating carbon. Remember, big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah. We have not pulled it off. We've had some buildings get close and then something go wrong. But we continue to try every time. And we're getting better and better at building buildings that are incredibly good environmentally, do not use resources. You know, I think of it as sort of, it's a funny thing. There's, is that really worthwhile? Do buyers really buy based on that? I mean, the answer is yes. Interestingly, at the super high end in particular, but also building environmentally friendly buildings with a great envelope and great operating expenses is cheaper to own long term. So it's a good deal for our office tenants. It's a good deal for our owners. I think that's a big part of it. And then it's also just nice in that it's not wasteful. It's nice not to be wasteful. And so, you know, all those things taken together, and then the small end, we understand that by doing that, we're not going to stop climate change and global warming, but we're helping on some level. So I think all of those things taken together is a big deal. Third one was to be on time and on budget in all of our projects. We gave ourselves a 10%. We always obviously go into a project with a contingency. Yeah. So on budget, we stayed at. On time, we allowed a 10% contingency there. So far, we have achieved that. So knock on wood, been really good. For those who are like, well, what does that really mean? The way we said it was when we close the GMP and start the construction, that is the moment at which on time, on budget starts. So far we've achieved that. We set the goal that our development entity would make a profit every year. Unfortunately, we have not achieved that. We've made great returns for our investors, and that's been amazing. But the little bit of gummed up economy has slowed some deals down, and so that sort of shifted on us. But we've been very stable, and it's really good. So it's fine, and this year will be good. Next year will be even better. So that was another very important goal. And then I think the fifth goal, which has been really cool to see, is that we said every single one of our projects would leave behind a civic impact that was not required for zoning. So in our mountain markets, we always have to build affordable housing. In Denver, there's a big affordable housing component. Charleston has a piece. So everywhere we work has it. Might be an indicator, by the way, of a good site. People think it's a negative. It might be a sign. Yeah. You know, shit's so expensive. You need to be priced lower. Sorry for cussing. So anyway, so it has to have a civic impact that is not required by the zoning. Some of the things we've done over the years are pretty amazing. The Collective in Snowmass is this amazing community center. Union Hall is this awesome arts venue that we built in Denver. In Deer Valley, we actually created a new kind of affordable housing program that goes above and beyond what the city was doing, that allows for a transfer assessment over time. So, focusing on that civic impact, it's important to the communities we're in. It's important to the people that work at East West that they get to leave behind that kind of impact. And so we set those as 5 goals. We will never achieve them. One of the secrets is we'll never decide if we achieved it or not. We'll set a new set of standards and go after some other big mission over the next 12 months. So, but I really, honestly, I work on those things. So in the CEO role, I really do work on those things. And I love the deal as much as the next woman. Like, it's so much fun. And, debating, gosh, can we get that return? Yeah. What kind of non-compete are we willing to agree to? But those things are always part of the deal, and I love it. Designing projects is amazing, and I'm lucky enough to get to do that. But the other thing that we have to do somewhere in the company is run the company.
Of course.
Yeah.
In the same line as the CEO topic, what do you think? You have CEOs that are good at a lot of different stuff, or really, really good at a lot of different stuff. You have people that are more kind of management of existing operations. You have still some CEOs that are, in some respect, really hands-on to generating yield or operating. What do you think for you personally is your strength or focal place, or what do you as a CEO, where do you think you provide the most value?
I mean, look, I appreciate it. I think, first of all, I really do believe we can sort of overvalue the CEO. We have an incredible team of leaders. When you're a real estate developer, you're a leader.
Yeah.
Right from the start, you're an executive. If you're an assistant project manager, you still have 10 companies that are coming to report to you on that deal. Mm-hmm. You're managing architects and GCs. And if you have, a direct engineer, you have a direct, concrete or infrastructure work. So they really are managing teams right from the get-go. Mm-hmm. So I do think we could kind of overblow that. But look, I mean, for me, what I like doing is the people stuff. I spend a lot of time with Bell leadership out at Chapel Hill, who operate everything off of everybody has a different metaphor. Theirs is the achiever model. There's 6 different skill sets that you have. Everybody has them. You have them. I have them. That guy who just walked by has them. And then if you have those too much, they're extremes. So it's good to be competitive. It's not good to need everybody else to lose. It's good to be a team builder. It's not good to just let somebody walk all over you and do whatever. It's good to be creative, but for the love of God, stop thinking of new things.
Right.
So that kind of behavior, I focus on that a lot. I think it translates to the company as well. But I don't know. I mean, we're trying to create terrific places. Mm-hmm. So it's really nice to have that organizing thing. Yeah.
What's your dad's involvement still with the company?
He will not go away. It's unbelievable. No.
That's how entrepreneurs.
My dad's very involved. He's still an owner. He's probably our largest, but he is our largest GP investor. So no, and my dad's super involved. I talk to him all the time. It's great. Super lucky. It's so cheesy, but it's awesome. I get to talk to my dad almost every day about real estate stuff, and we don't always agree, and he wants to focus on things I don't want to focus on, and so forth. That's fine. It's awesome. And I think he was working on that hotel at Daniel Island that I hope we'll get to build, and listening to him talk about his experiences. One of the things I've really tried to focus on in the way that I work with my dad is not turning him into some sort of museum piece. He's still very vibrant and active and doing new things. Mm-hmm. And he sees new things all over the place. He and my mom travel a lot, so awesome reference point. He has incredibly deep relationships throughout the industry. So it's not just the fun old guy came and said something fun. Like, he still runs the Westin Hotel every day, and the team that manages that, and his office is there. So he really cares about the coffee shop, and he's good at it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he's good at it. He's super involved.
This isn't meant to be a difficult question, but maybe in the sense of positivity. But you being CEO now, he having been founder and CEO at one point, where do you think that you differ, or what do you think you guys were different at, or Yeah. I mean, look, the best thing, the biggest difference is that I grew up in the business. So when I was a kid, when we were in Brandonville outside of Virginia, my dad would get me in the car on Saturdays and we'd go drive along. He had passed a rule that the home builders couldn't put signs out on the main road. And
he hated them because it just made the place look like crap. And if you have 5 signs, it looks like everything's for sale.
Yeah.
So we would literally drive down the road and pick up the signs and put them in the trunk. And then in the garage at our house, there was just this pile of home builder signs. So a very different experience than he had.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it. I've just been doing it a long time. How do we operate differently? I'm not sure. I mean, we're pretty similar. We both love Clemson football. I like the Broncos more than he does. I'm a big soccer fan. He's not into soccer. I don't know. I'm not sure we're that distinctly different. I'm probably a little bit more institutional. The company's bigger.
Yeah.
It was pretty big when he led to, and so he had not been CEO for a while. There was a CEO before me. But he pretty big. I don't know, a little bit more institutional. Yeah, I can't think of that.
That's cool. No, that's a great answer. Yeah. Shifting to projects a little bit. I think one thing that's always interesting to talk about, because I wouldn't know the answer. It's not like I can prep or research it, but are there any projects in your head that stand out as like, one, immensely challenging, but coupling that with like, man, that was a really hard project. We probably should have lost a ton, or maybe it shouldn't have gone that well, but you fought through and it was a good deal. Is there anything that stands out of like, man, that was defining moment for us, or that was a really good project for us?
I mean, a great lesson for me was Mark Smith. And when I worked for Mark in Denver, we were building a project called One Riverfront, and 2008 hit. And Mark said, let's sell them. Sell them as fast as you can.
They were condos or houses?
Condos.
Okay.
And I think there is a pretty good phrase that we use inside of East West, which is all's well that ends. And, it was, hey, look, we're not going to make profit here. Let's break even or close to it, which is what we did. Go ahead and sell these units. The fight is lost. We'll come back and do this another day. I got to watch the team in Tahoe go through all of that. They had a really tough time. I wasn't involved there, but that was a bankruptcy, super complex. There was a syndicate of lenders. They were trying to get debtor in possession financing to take the deal forward. There was one member of the lender team that didn't want to do that, and so it didn't help that at the time Crescent was going through a bunch of stuff. They were our investor. So I think that it was, and we'd made mistakes because you make mistakes in every project. So, but if you couple those with bad times, it's really hard. So, I mean, I think watching that was really good and formative for me to see how hard that is and the work it takes. When your deal fails, you don't just get to leave.
No.
You still have to work on it.
Don't leave till it's done. Yeah.
There's nothing worse than working on a deal that failed. But look, Tahoe's an amazing place. And the base of North Star is as good a ski village as there is anywhere. The ski resort, the golf course communities at Gray's Crossing and Old Greenwood are awesome. So, they still did the first task. So I think, deals can be really hard. The biggest thing that I think we've developed somewhat of an expertise is this kind of tri-party relationship between land, us, and LP Capital. And I think, that figuring out how to match LPs with the land is an important role to play.
Yeah, it's very unique.
And then, we're oftentimes entitling big things. And I think that's a pretty good skill set of ours too. So we don't know if the deal will happen, but we are known to be working on this project called West Lions Head in Vail. And really interesting. We actually work for the town and the resort. And so, we're there to help. They get along. They have a history of not always getting along, but they get along right now. And the reasons they didn't get along are long and complicated, and I'm sure everybody was mad at each other. But nobody working on this stuff now, for the most part, was involved in those bad things. And so, creating those relationships and managing them through that complexity is a big deal. There are a lot of people who want to weigh in on zoning. I was actually talking about this with Miller Harper earlier. I always remember this story. It's a fun one. So it's a complex story, but at one point I'm meeting with the mayor of Denver, a guy named Michael Hancock, who's a good mayor. And Mayor Hancock, I asked him, what's the hardest thing? And he goes, the hardest thing is we work on something for 5 years and then people show up at the end and complain about it. And it's particularly interesting, Matt, because he was referring literally to me because I was complaining about something. So
that was a nice way for him to say it.
Yeah, that was a nice way for him to tell me to pound sand. And he was right. I should have pounded sand. And I didn't need to, whatever. He was totally right. But, that sort of navigation, people care about what gets built in their communities. They should care about what gets built in their communities. And so, managing through that process is a skill set that we have too. And I think can be a hard thing. And I'm thinking of it because I'm looking at Union Station and the picture behind you. And there was a group of people who wanted Union Station, has these beautiful forecourts with these two buildings that sort of frame the plazas. And there were people who did not want those buildings. They wanted the plazas to be bigger. And they sued all the way to the Colorado Supreme Court to make that happen. Yeah. So, and by the way, now those plazas are beloved and the fountains go, and you can't even begin to imagine the project without them. So by the way, not mad at those people. I mean, that's great. That's community involvement. It might be a little crazy. Mm-hmm. Feels like a big thing to sue over, but so you never know what complexity you're gonna run into. But we've developed a pretty good ability to do that. Cherry Creek West in Denver is our next big project there. Cherry Creek West is part of Cherry Creek North, which is one of the best office markets in America. It's the west end of the Cherry Creek Mall, which is one of the best performing malls in America. I'm making this up, but they're like 7th or 8th on a per square foot basis in all of America, including Hawaii. And so, really successful place, and obviously a lot of owners. And we're next to the historic country club, and there's 2 historic districts that all but abut our project. And so, navigating through all that's tough and tricky. But on the other hand, people wanted development there. What was there was a abandoned Bed Bath & Beyond Surface Park pad site. So, it was so a chance to come and do that. But navigating through all that stuff's a big part of complexity.
What is the what's like the song and dance of matching a landowner with LP and then also you guys in the project there? Like, does a landowner say, hey, look, we'll contribute our land to this project, but I want X return. I want it paid this way, or I want it at the end. How does how do they come to the table?
Listen, every land seller owner is different.
Mm-hmm.
So Cherry Creek West, the owner is the mall. And then they're partners with the land is owned by a local foundation in Denver. So actually very cool. The rent that we will pay, it's a land lease deal for 99 years. Yeah. It resets. Every time I say it's a land lease, people ask me how long. Land leases are always 99 years. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a 99-year land. I mean, you could they exist that they're 500 years. I can hear my friend Jay Sugarman at iStar saying, no, we can do longer, but they're always 99 years. And anyway, the ultimate landowner is a foundation. So that rent will actually go into childhood education.
That's so cool.
I know, right? So cool. Wow. The mall was owned by Taubman. It's now owned by Simon. But they did not like having that next to their land. They recognize, like they're doing all over the country now at Simon, that they have these parking lots that are in great locations and have real value and definitely highest and best use is not a couple of big pads. There's something else to be done. So, not that there's anything wrong with the big pad business. They had been searching for a developer. Honestly, we kind of hung around the hoop. Other people would come and go. We just sort of sat there and said, we'll do it. Ultimately, we were able to unlock that deal because of Centris, our equity partner, raised capital that never wants to sell. And so we're committed to that project for forever, which is really fun and a very different kind of thing to build. But incredible location and unbelievable site, and rents today support anything we want to do. So here we go.
It's a good spot to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk about, and if you have a different project you want to, we certainly can, but Snowmass-based village seems insane.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah. Maybe a $1 billion plus total project cost, it seemed like.
I'm not sure.
I don't know the exact numbers, but that's what was on the site or something like that. Can we walk through that deal, maybe beginning to end? And we can go as much details as you want. But what's an overview of that project? What is the deliverable today, and what was the state of what was needed?
So Snowmass, incredible ski resort, right? Like amazing mountain, beautiful views, 700, 800,000 skiers, which is kind of half a Vail. It's awesome. Great skiing, true Colorado skiing. Aspen Mountain Ajax is not great. It's hard. It's steep. It's off the fall line. Highlands is pretty good. I mean, Ajax is beautiful, and you ski down into Aspen, and if you're a good skier, it's amazing, but it's not the best resort mountain. Snowmass is that mountain, and 3 out of 5 visits in those places are at Snowmass. So people stay in Aspen, they'll ski one day at each of the other 2. If they're a snowboarder, they might go to Buttermilk, or if they're a beginner, but they otherwise go to Snowmass. So Snowmass, I mean, I can't remember when it was built, but it's amazing. And really the base of it was up the hill at the Snowmass Mall. Over time, it became very clear that the opportunity was to go downhill, and there must have been 20 different developers who tried to do something there.
Oh, really? Over how long a time do you
Over
think?
the life of Snowmass. We actually have a collection of all the different plans over the years. Pretty cool. Ultimately got done by Intrawest, the Crown family out of Chicago, who owns Aspen, which is Snowmass, Aspen Highlands. Don't tell them what I said about Ajax. They ultimately wanted to do it. The incredible Intrawest out of Canada came in to do it, and they got started. They built the first few buildings, built a little chicklet gondola, a new chairlift, new childhood learning center for skiing for little kids. I mean, really beautiful start. Got an offer from a company out of New York who bought it, and that company's timing, it was related. It turned out to be bad timing for them. Related, I think this is right, built the Viceroy Hotel, and everything else just got stuck. There were a bunch of things that were related to the district financing they had used that were a mess and so forth, and they just kind of couldn't figure it out. I don't really know exactly what the history was, but basically KSL and the Crowns decided they wanted to buy it back. So the Crowns and Intrawest had sold it to Related. Nothing happened for about a decade, and then the Crowns and KSL bought it back. Interestingly, when they did that, the Crowns and KSL learned that they worked really well together, and so they started Alterra. And so Aspen is not in it's not part of Alterra, but Aspen is on the Icon Pass, and so that created that relationship. And then the Crown family is an investor, which is known. I'm not sharing a secret.
Right, of course.
In Alterra as well. So they called. Craig Ferraro was running East West Partners, the incredible Craig Ferraro, and Craig had been CFO at Aspen at one point in his career. And Eric Resnick and Peter McDermott at KSL said, "We think we're going to do this. Will you come take a look at it?" And we did, and they bought it, and we got started. It was I really do remember it. I wasn't CEO yet, but there was an amazing party because it was this big, huge district garage that had got built, and every time you came to Snowmass, all you could see was this big dead garage, and then on top of it was all the rebar that was supposed to go into the buildings that never got built.
Oh, no way!
So they came out with hacksaws and little blade saws, and they cut off pieces of it. Everybody got a piece of that as the thing. Got them going again. They had unsold units at the Viceroy, so they started by selling those. They had a couple of projects they got going, one Snowmass East and West, and a little building called the Lumen. And then the Crown family, who owned the Limelight hotel chain, wanted to build a Limelight, so there was a Limelight was built. By them, we ran that process, but it was theirs. That got it started. And then COVID hit, which was great. I mean, aside from, it sucked. It was an awful and horrible. It was really good for ski resort business. And so all of a sudden we had inventory and people were ready to go. It's been a crazy story. I mean, real pricing in our last project is about $3,600 a foot. It caps out at like $5,000. Just shy of $5,000. When we got there, it was like $400. So, I mean, it's a crazy story.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I think people were probably paying real numbers about $600 a foot for unsold units when we got there about a decade ago. So yeah, it's been incredible. Andy Gunyon runs that deal. Andy and his team, Ellen and Travis, have done an amazing job. The property management team's done an amazing job. The ski company's been an amazing partner, and it's just gotten better and better. And so, yeah, it's been a real run. We're almost done. So if you want a fresh home, there's 17 left at Travis. That's right. So you need to get in there now. It's a great place. It's really cool. Snowmass is really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for this project, obviously, your brokerage team is operating all sales there. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Slifer Smith & Frampton represents us on the sales side.
Beautiful.
And if we're in a market where Slifer is, they're going to represent us, but they're not everywhere. So South Carolina here, we kind of do it ourselves. Utah, we work with Christie's, a great guy named Matt Magnata. When we were in Hawaii, we did it with the team at DMB. So just depends.
Speaking about like development in Colorado, looking from the outset, having not had a real estate business there. But here, speaking with a lot of developers here, it's a lot different where we have like kind of, I would say, less complex variables, it seems. Now, maybe zoning in certain markets, but is there anything that's peculiar to the mountain resort development that you think is not really exposed as much in other markets? I mean, when you think about tough development, you may think like maybe a New York City skyscraper from just permitting, zoning, air rights, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But when you look at all the stuff you guys build, you think weather, climate, terrain, getting supply somehow to this market.
I think those things are all true. I mean, it's more expensive to build there. There are not as many people who work there. I would say really the biggest difference is really in the market. When you're in a city, it's primary homes, it's people's workplaces. Right. When you're in a resort town, it's generally the buyers and we've done projects that have locals that live in them full time. But the first thing is a customer that comes somewhat irregularly. And we think of resort customers in sort of three ways. So we think of the traditional second home, which is somebody who truly lives there for, all winter or all summer, 4, 5, 6 months or something. Then you have the vacation buyer, usually out of market, comes in for, Christmas, spring break, July 4th. And then you have the weekend traveler. So they drive up from, Denver. By the way, we're not particularly geniuses that we think of it that way. Of course, yeah. Because that's how it works. Right. So that's probably the biggest difference between working in the mountains and working in the city. Working in a city is much more full day cycle, if you will. So, we're doing office, we're doing residential, we're doing for rent. So cities have a much more dynamic, asset demand. Mm-hmm. So we're sure.
I think so. Yeah. In lightly wrapping up here, is there any project that you would like to chat about briefly that you think comes to mind or was significant to you or the company, or maybe in your role as CEO, or maybe none of the above, but something that you think is critical?
Look, for me personally, it was watching Mark Smith and Amy Carra run and the team from Continuing Partners, who was our joint venture partner on Union Station, watching that come together and really be a great thing. Yeah. Before that, Riverfront Park is pretty amazing. Long since finished. We still manage there. Our property management company is still there. Daniel Island Waterfront is probably peak East-West. We own the restaurant.
Let's chat about that.
Park.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. So, the family that, it's had various different owners over the years. Daniel Island at one point was they make all the iron works in South Carolina. They're really cool. The Daniel Island sign is actually in one of the museums in DC, like hanging on the wall. It's really neat. So, but Daniel Island was an amazing development. It was one of the first big new urbanist projects in the United States. Matt Sloan was doing an incredible job running it. They had intentions of building a marina. Probably would have been a good idea because now all the PE guys want to own marinas, which is probably a good idea. But they decided not to do that, and so they had this parcel on the waterfront. Daniel Island's an island, but it's very rare that you actually get to the water with housing. And so they had this idea to build waterfront. They had this really god-awful children's park there that was like a recreation, I think, of the South Carolina waterways. Oh, wow. And it had water in it, but there was a giant sign that said, "Do not go in the water." So imagine you bring your little kid down there. So we worked with the Property Owners Association out there and built them a new park, and they contributed as well. And so it's an amazing new park. We put in a marina. It's piers and mooring balls out in the waterfront, but they're all out there. We built a restaurant called King's Tide, where we partnered with the Indigo Road guys out of Charleston here, Steve Palmer. King's Tide is amazing. Yep. I love it because people who live on Mount Pleasant will get in their boat and ride their center console up the river and come park and have dinner and then get in their boat and head back home. Cool. I mean, it's so good. So it's been, we've done condominiums. We're doing apartments. We did retail. I hope to do a hotel. It's just a really nice, very pleasant, beautiful place to live. Howerton, LS3P, other architects have been great. So yeah, really happy.
What's the last phase of it right now? It's not complete.
It's not done. No, we have 2 parcels left. We have apartments under construction. We're residences that are closing as we speak. I think there's 2 closings today, maybe 15 unsold residences right now. And then there's 2 more pieces of land. One's on the water and one's on the marsh. So really neat project. I mean, we've been at it for 7 years. We've probably got 3 or 4 to go.
The prices on those look pretty nice. I was looking through the townhomes and condos yesterday. I think
it's a decent value out there. I mean, Daniel Allen is a phenomenon, man. I mean, it has. I think I know it's the wealthiest zip code in this part of the state, and it probably makes it the wealthiest zip code in South Carolina.
Probably.
You might get some thread out on Kiowa, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great place. My favorite memory, first time I ever went to Daniel Island with an eye towards real estate development, I was in one of these real estate tours, the bus with the 2 seats on each side, a little short bus. And we pull up in front of the elementary school out there, which is, I think, is also a middle school. And we're pulling through it. It looks like a school, 1 story, and a little pull-up place where the buses go. And we come to the end of the building, and I'm looking to the right. I'm sitting on the right of the bus. And I'm not making this up. There's 250 bikes. Because all those kids had biked to school that day.
Oh, wow.
And that is like amazing. That's a kind of peacefulness, a sense of belonging, a place. And I literally got chills seeing all those bikes. And my kids were young at the time. Mm-hmm. And what a thing. And yet then they're here in Charleston.
So cool.
Yeah.
Chris, in wrapping up, I've asked these same 3 questions on every episode. So in general or specifically, what are you focused on now? Like current focus, what are your priorities?
Look, I'm always focused on new acquisition, new deals, and raising capital. And so I talked about the goals of being the most admired development company in America, and those we're focused on that. And then we have new projects that we are trying to figure out how to button up.
As far as future of the company goes, you guys have developed so many different product types.
Yep.
Bunch of different markets too. Is there any service, product, or market that you haven't been in that you would like to be in?
I'm going to go with no. I think we're doing fundamentally the things that we want to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who do you think helped you the most along the way?
My wife, Yvette. That's a really easy one.
Quick answer.
It's not just a careful answer. It's really true. She's amazing. On a work mentor level, Mark Smith was incredible to me. My dad's been great. He's truly been amazing. So I've been very lucky to have a number of people. I've worked with Amy Cara in Denver for all of my East-West career, and Amy's been an incredible supporter to me too. So no, I'm really lucky that way.
Chris, I think this was great. Anything else? I think this is a good place to wrap.
Fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.